Alright, so today we're going to be doing a simple mod on a Gameboy Pocket. Now, recently I acquired like 26 of these, kind of on accident. So I've got to do something with a lot of them. I'm working on another video where I go over how I got all those Game Boys accidentally, so stay tuned. I have a screen mod kit. They all come with these things on how to open the Game Boy. I don't need them. I'll show you how many I have someday. Anyway, we got to make sure that this one's working. It's in my working Game Boy pile. I just need to be sure with Tetris. Okay, I hear the sound. I think it's just the contrast wheel. Yep, okay. We're good. This one works. All right, so what I noticed when I looked at this closely is the outer rim of the screen has these pressure marks that I'll show you later. And those aren't good. They usually spread. So time for a new screen. Now, I have two different types of screens I use when I'm replacing Game Boy Pocket screens. Sometimes I use these larger than the original backlit screen. Sometimes I use smaller. I'm going to use the smaller one on this. There's two reasons that I'll use the smaller ones. One, they have better battery life. And two, it's less expensive. And I like having different price entry points for people who want to just have, you know, cool little Game Boy Pockets. So the smaller screen ones are still backlit. They're still nicer than the original screens, even though they're a little smaller. They have glass protectors on them and a better battery and, you know, cost you less money. Everything needs cleaned in this, obviously, because I buy these things as broken for parts. I also noticed on this one that the battery terminal is kind of rusty in a way that I'm not comfortable with. So I will be replacing that terminal as well. Because before I sell anything or go through whatever, I check everything because I want to send these as basically refurbished. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and take out the old screen. This one didn't really even need crunch method. It was ready to go. But see what I mean? These are those little pressure marks on the outer rim, whatever. Those generally spread in my experience and only get worse. So I'll set this aside, maybe use it for something else. We're going to get rid of this old plastic screen because we're going to replace that with glass. And now let's go ahead and start to take everything apart, like the heat sink, so I can wash this shell and make sure it's sparkly clean. You know, I'll probably clean that too. But alcohol for the actual board. All these little marks and stuff on it, I want to be pretty much gone. This doesn't really impact the performance, but I just think if you're going to sell something that's modified, you should probably have it cleaned and refurbished. I'm not trying to run an operation like DK Oldies around here, you know? I'm trying to do legitimate business where things are actually cleaned and taken care of so that people who buy this from you don't have to worry about it because you already worried about it. But let's go ahead and get into changing this battery terminal. Probably not necessary to do, but I just didn't like how this old one looked. I have one that's got a little bit of a black mark on it, but that's not worrisome to me. What was worrisome to me on the existing one, the existing terminal, is it just looked kind of rusted. So I'm taking off the old one first. I don't know. I might try to fix this terminal later on, but I'm not leaving it there like this. And since I have all of these motherboards of dead Game Boys that I can't get to work yet, I use them for parts and then eventually see if I can fix them. And if not, I sell them to someone smarter than me who might be able to fix them. I know you're probably used to seeing a lot more chaos on my channel if you're familiar with it, but sometimes I think I need a video that shows you I actually kind of know what I'm doing so that it doesn't scare anyone from ever buying stuff from me. This is going to just be a straightforward operation, you know? I could do it, guys, I swear. I'm not always completely the dumbest person in tech repair. I kind of am, but I mean, I could do it okay. So what I'm doing here is making sure I get rid of all of the solder on these battery contacts, these terminals, so that I can actually position them back into the board. This one that I borrowed from another motherboard. And like I said, there's like a little black mark on this spring. I think maybe it got fried at some point, but that's not something that's going to impact it ever. And I'm just going to clean up the speaker so it doesn't make any sort of staticky noises from dust. And this one's looking good. Everything's cleaning up, you know, no problems in switching out the battery terminal. I just got done washing the shell and had to dry everything, you know. I like to use an air pressure dryer. I don't like to trust myself with paper towels and stuff because if you turn this on and there was a little bit of water stuck in a crevice somewhere, you could fry the whole board. And I'm not about to chance that. So here's my new screen, my tiny boy screen. So there's actually little brackets that come with this since, again, it is slightly smaller than the original screen, it needs to fit in here properly, so there's that bracket to fit it into the housing. Some people are super against these smaller screens, and I don't know why. As someone who's played it and knows the form factor of the Gameboy Pocket, these screens are fine, size-wise. You don't actually notice that they're smaller unless you side-by-side them or you're super familiar with Gameboy Pockets. And the fact that it gives you better battery life and costs about, I don't know, $20 to $40 less to purchase if you're on the consumer end, it seems to make sense to have some of them with these screens. A lot of vendors only sell these screens and don't even mention that they're smaller and charge you the same amount as you would get for one of the larger screens. And, they tell you how big the screen is, and consumers don't seem to ever notice or care. I just kind of try to be transparent if I'm selling one with the smaller screen and make note of that. But in any case, the people who randomly hate on these smaller screens, I don't understand it. They're fine, and as long as you're being transparent with what it is, there are reasons to want this smaller screen. I would always take the smaller backlit screen over the original Gameboy Pocket screen personally, because having a backlit screen that's slightly smaller is still nicer, and the battery life is a huge advantage. So we're just getting all this put together. We got our touch sensors and everything for adjusting brightness and screen style. Solder that to the power button, and we're going to test everything, make sure it works. And it looks beautiful. Look at us go. Okay, so now it's time to put everything together the correct way. It's, a little chunkier in these things when you put these mods in them because the screens are thicker and there's extra padding and stuff. So you want to be careful to make sure everything's snug but not over tighten it. That's really important. A lot of people over tighten when they mod. If it's not all fitting together, you got to adjust the mod, not the screws. And making sure there's no dust before we put the glass cover. Now these things are so much nicer than the old plastic covers. Problem is they all come with this adhesive that doesn't peel off perfectly. And a lot of times you end up having to clean adhesive off of the back of the screen, which takes forever because it doesn't perfectly come off, and that'll never go away. Like if you get a little dust in there, that'll move around or will get added in because it's not a vacuum tight seal. But if you have adhesive stuck to the back glass, that's never going away. Anyway, let's test it again now that it's all together, and uh-oh. I swear I didn't do anything wrong. What is going on? Like, I can't win for losing. Okay, I have to see what happened, and checking. Everything looks fine. I swear. Even the ribbon cable looks fine. I don't know what's going on. There's no reason it shouldn't have powered on. I'm starting to get nervous that some water got in there after I cleaned it, but I really think I was thorough with that. Try this again. Nothing. But now I'm thinking, are these the same batteries that I used the last time? Is it just the batteries? Oh my. Sometimes you have so little confidence in yourself because of how many times you've screwed up projects. But it was just the batteries. We did it. Yay. Subscribe.